So catchy, I felt like joining in, but I didn't know the words. And but thank you all very, very much. Yeah,
Great job. Great job.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Here. Mr. Kraus.
Here.
Mr. Lefevre.
Here.
Mr. Masiello. Mrs. Romano. Here. And Mrs. Zuckerby. Okay.
Thank you, and I'd like to have a motion to accept the agenda. Mr. Fernandez, Mrs. Romano, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, board member reports.
Yes, Mr. Pascal. Hello. A couple items. Tonight, our facilities director, Mr. Paul Rooney, will be sworn in as president of the New York State School Facilities Association. We are very proud of Mr. Rooney on his fantastic achievement. Dr. Gill, principal of North Rockland High School, received an email from Mr. John Wade regarding the tremendous educational experience his son John, a 2018 graduate, received at North Rockland High School. John earned numerous college credits, I believe there was almost 70, while attending North Rockland High School, and was accepted to several acclaimed colleges and universities. He chose to attend Ramapo College because he received a full scholarship and will be able to earn an accounting and pre-law degree. Moreover, if John maintains a 3.2 GPA, he will be accepted into St. John's Law School. Mr. Wade credited the exceptional programs and staff at North Rockland for his son's success and permitted us to share his son's wonderful North Rockland High School experience with all of you here gathered tonight. This was a really nice email showing what our schools could do. We give a lot of credit to the high school, but all this process starts in elementary school and works its way up. You see the finished product at the elementary. And this is just great to hear this from parents. There's been several other emails and communications sent to us, but this was just one example that we were getting permission to share, and very important. On Friday, October 19th, the Northampton High School PTA will host pocketbook bingo. Visit the Northampton High School website for complete details and ticket information. I know Mrs. Manini's here from the Northampton High School PTA. On Friday, October 26th, Northampton High School will host the annual Trunk or Treat Halloween event from 4 to 6 p.m. Children K through 6 are welcome to attend. The cost is $5 per vehicle. In observance of Columbus Day, all Northampton schools will be closed on Monday, October 8th. As always, we put informational tidbits out on Facebook, Twitter. I know some of the schools also use Twitters. We have the Northampton Central School District website, and each of the schools has their own website. And this agenda that you see up here, you go onto the Northampton Central School District website, and you go on under Board of Education, Board Docs, all the agenda and past meeting minutes are up there as well. That's all I have, Mr. Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. And now we're going to have another presentation from the Summer Reading Challenge winners.
I'd like to call up our English coordinator, Gary Armida, and also from our PTA Council, the President, Ida Manini.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming on such a rainy day. It's crazy. Summer Reading Challenge was something, first of all, that was born out of a discussion with English teachers and administration. And before I even go into that, I want to thank the board and our central administration for all the support on this, because we decided to give kids the option of what they wanted to read, and we didn't mandate anything, and kids submitted entries all summer long. This is, I think, year 4 of our Summer Reading Challenge, and each year we keep getting more and more entries, and it's just incredible to see kids who want to read and do it on their own without us telling them to. So that was the whole point, and we have a couple of examples of that tonight. So we were going to read all the names, but we have 2 who are here tonight with us. So, for grade 7, Sierra Pierre. Grade 8, Gianna LeBron. In grade 9, who's here with us today, and I'm fortunate enough to have her in class, Jessica Singh. A grade 10 winner, who I'm also fortunate enough to have in class, Yi Lin, who couldn't be here tonight. Grade 11, she survived my class last year, and she's a great kid, as you'll see, Kaylin Sarah. And our grade 12 winner, who's also our National Honor Society president, Erica, I'm going to butcher her last name, Landea, who couldn't be here tonight. So thank you, everyone. And we will, yes. And I also would like to thank our PTA, who every year, and this year I didn't even ask, gives a Barnes & Noble gift card to each winner for each grade level. So without their support, we wouldn't be able to do that. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to all, but most especially thank you to our 2 winners. And we know that encouraging students to read is one of the best things that we as parents and as educators can do. And we're just so proud that we have someone leading that department that really is innovative and has brought a lot of change to how we look at teaching and learning in terms of English language arts. And you notice a couple of the winners were in his class. That's not by coincidence. He happens to be a phenomenal teacher. So thank you for encouraging your students.
Next, we have an external audit report. And Mrs. Eckert, if you can introduce this gentleman.
Good evening. Thank you for having us this evening to make our presentation. I'm Jamie Cody. I am a principal with the Bondale Group. We're the independent external auditors of the school district. We completed our audit, and last week we met with the audit committee and went over the documents in front of you in detail. Some of these documents you'll see are rather lengthy. The financial statements are close to 70 pages long. It takes quite an effort to put all this together. So tonight I'd just like to summarize our audit results. I also put in front of you our executive summary that I'll go through. And you have in front of you 3 documents. The first is the financial statements along with the uniform guidance audit, which is the audit of your federal awards. You have the audit of the extra classroom financial statements and our required communications letter, which we're required to report to you under professional standards. The first item I'd like to go through is the audit of the financial statements. We are required to do the audit in accordance with government auditing standards to report internal control matters over financial reporting. There were no material weaknesses identified as part of our audit, and no significant deficiencies were reported. Our independent auditor's report was unmodified for all opinion units. That's the highest level of assurance that an independent auditor can provide. I do want to go over a few of the highlights in the financial statements. The first, the biggest event of the year was the adoption of GASB 75, which relates to other post-employment benefits, which is your retiree health insurance that you pay. This standard required all school districts in the state, all governments actually in the state, actually in the country, to catch up on a previously reported liability. So you've been reporting this OPEB liability for a number of years. We've been advertising this past sins over a 30-year period. Well, they said, no more advertising, you're gonna put it all on your balance sheet. So you had a $238 million increase in your OPEB liability. That means your liability at the beginning of the year stood at $360 million. So that's your future promise, the future value of the promises to pay healthcare for retirees. And then during the year, that increased by $10 million to $370 million. So these numbers are not unlike other school districts your size, and actually there are some school districts your size that have bigger numbers, because it all depends upon the type of benefits that are paid, whether how big the co-pays are, and things of that nature. Or do you pick up Medicare Part B once a retiree reaches 65? So actuarial determined estimate, and it was the biggest event of the year. But that might be a little bit of bad news how big that number is, but this is the 3rd consecutive year that you have returned revenues in excess of expenditures in the general fund. So thanks to some state aid, good budget practices, you had a $9.6 million revenue exceeding expenditures in the general fund, and you also had positive budget to actual results for revenues and expenditures. So you were under budget on expenditures and over budget on revenues. That this year you funded some reserves that were needed, and you were able to maintain the 4% set 4% of next year's budget as your unexpendable fund balance, which is the highest percent that you can keep under state law. For a number of years, you were over that amount because of some tax surcharge matters that you've been taking care of. But good budget practices that put you at 4% now. So that is the summary of the financial statements. Is there any questions on the financial statements? If not, I can talk about the extra classroom financial statements which are in front of you. That is the financial statements related to your clubs at the middle school and high school. Our independent auditors report on that was qualified, which is not the highest level of assurance that you can provide. That is very common for extra classroom activities because of the nature of the activities. We're not able to get complete comfort over the completeness of all the revenues that are being received into the clubs, just because of the internal controls and the nature of the cash being held. It's very difficult to do. So that was a qualified opinion, but we didn't notice any irregularities in what we looked at. And the last item is your audit of federal awards. It's also called the Uniform Guidance Audit. This year we looked at the Title I program, and we found no internal control matters or compliance matters to report. You did qualify as a low-risk auditee as defined by the federal government. No internal control deficiencies, and issued the highest level of assurance on that program and unmodified opinion. So that's all those remarks I have for this evening, summarizing the results of the audit. Any questions?
Board members that were not part of the audit committee, what the qualified opinion for the extracurricular activities funds. That's really common, isn't it, among
Yes.
high school because of the nature of the way the money is collected.
Correct. That is.
It doesn't indicate that you found anything.
There's less than 10% of schools in the state that probably have the highest level of insurance, if that.
I want to thank you very much for that very thorough audit. We're very happy to receive that information. I want to also thank our audit committee, Mrs. Agapi, Mrs. Gay, Mrs. Romano, and our business official, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Senna. So I'm very happy to introduce. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night. Be safe.
Thank you.
And that item is going to be accepted in the consent agenda. Any old business? Seeing there's no business, we're going to ask for correspondence.
Yes, I received a letter of resignation today from board member Harry Lefevre. Mr. Lefevre would like to read his letter of resignation.
Mr. Lefevre, none of us wanted to read that, so you have the honors.
I wrote this earlier today, and as protocol, had to address it to Mrs. Lively, the district clerk. Dear Sarah, when I sat down to write this letter, I thought about all of the personal and professional letters I've written over my 45 years in education. And other than my letter of retirement from North Rockland Central School District, this is the most difficult one I've had to write. With the sale of our home here scheduled to close at the end of the month and our new home in Canton, Georgia on November 1st, I must resign my position as trustee of the Board of Education for the North Rockland Central School District effective October 31st, 2018. It truly has been a pleasure representing the community as a member of the board over the past 7+ years. North Rockland is an amazing community that, despite the economic woes of the last decade, wholeheartedly supports a school system that provides all students at all levels with excellent opportunities to achieve success. The employees of the district, the teachers, support staff, administrators, superintendent, and the Board of Education work together tirelessly to ensure that the opportunities are there for all students and that each and every graduate is prepared for the next step in their life, be it higher education, the military, or the workforce. They make it happen. Having worked as an interim administrator in several school districts in Westchester, Rockland, and Orange counties since I retired from North Rockland Central School District in 2007, I've had the opportunity to work with a wide variety of district leadership teams and boards of education. It's with that lens that I can say that North Rockland is a role model for other school districts. It's a unique educational environment that will always be the gold standard in my heart. Sincerely.
I vote no.
And I have to say, the reason I wanted to get this on the agenda tonight is so that the board can do its work to go through the process of posting for the position and screening candidates, interviewing, and following the process, I presume, much the same way we ended up with Mr. Fernandez. Hopefully it'll be a better selection.
Yeah.
We already have one Mr. Important.
Right.
As our practice. But this is, it's a process that will take some time. By getting this on the agenda tonight, we'll give you enough time to hopefully have somebody by the November meeting.
Mrs. Gagnon.
Mr. Fernandez, listen to me. Mr. Lefevre, I just want to say that it has been an honor and a privilege to work with you for all of these years. And I worked with you for a lot of years, because before I sat at this table, I was PTA council president and you were a district administrator. You were my son's high school principal. And so we go way back, and it has always been a pleasure to deal with you, and I'm going to miss you at this table. I'm going to miss seeing you, and I wish you and Raina all the best.
Harry, we go back a really long time. And I just want to say, I remember saying to you once, and I truly mean it, I feel like Dorothy when she was going back to Oz, saying to the scarecrow, I'm going to miss you most of all. And I really have. Really have.
I guess I haven't known you as long as they have. But it's been a while, you know, but certainly since our daughter had training for French and who you're going to join, I know you're going. You know, we're friends beyond these meetings. We're really going to miss you. It's but you know, next stage, we'll be down in Georgia sometimes.
Mr. Lefevre, I want to say thank you to you. When I was first appointed to the board in September 2014, you were extremely welcoming and you coached me along, and I'll never forget that. I appreciate that. I especially liked one of my first few meetings when certain people were yapping away, watching you roll your eyes back, you know, but all kidding aside, the one thing I really learned from you is that you hardly ever spoke. When you spoke powerfully because you spoke with wisdom. And you know, you're an amazing person, and thank you for all you have done for the kids for so many years in your service in different capacities. We'll definitely miss you, and I will never forget the welcoming that you gave me when I came on the board. I hope I can do that to somebody else in the future.
Okay, so I don't go in the back nearly as far as everyone else, except for Richard. But it has been such an honor and a privilege to work with you. I thank you for the knowledge that you've shared with us and your professionalism, both when you work for the district and working with us here on the board. And I'll miss you a lot, but I so look forward to you retiring and having some fun. Oh my gosh, not giving up. You've been working for 45 years in education, are you including the time that you worked after you retired from education? Oh, okay. So enjoy your time. Have lots and lots of fun and good health and happiness, and enjoy that beautiful home that you built down in Georgia with your beautiful wife and your family. God bless you, Harry.
Harry will have a formal resolution just recognizing your contributions to this district, to this board, and the next, which I think will be your final meeting. You better not miss that one. And I don't know that I know anyone else that has the depth of knowledge of education that you do, because you have served in just so many positions and have always done a gold standard just job everywhere you've gone, in every position that you've taken, and you've taken some risk, God knows we know that, and have come out of them, leaving those districts in a better place than they were before you were there. So as an educator and someone who loves and serves kids, thank you for everything that you've dedicated in your life on behalf of making kids' lives and families' lives better.
Mr. Lefevre, I'm going to call you Harry now. I'm not going to be formal. I worked with you for 13 years. I watched you from the audience before that. And I went through 3 great years when you were an administrator, and then you came onto the board. And it really was a privilege watching how, with your wealth of knowledge and experience, how you commanded the post. And you were in some ways a mentor to me, because I watched your expressions. I knew if I said something a little off, I saw the squint. If I said something good, I saw the smile. So I took my cues. And then I watched you retire when you were on the board. And this gentleman doesn't know how to retire. He's the busiest retired guy I know, from going to Oswego to different boards and superintendent, interim, and it really just has been a pleasure, Harry, working with you, and you'll always be a part of this team in our hearts. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for those lovely comments. I think you were politely saying I can't keep a job.
So we have a couple of weeks to think about it now, so we don't have to have a resolution tonight. You can always reject it. Okay, moving along, we're going into public comment. Board of Education welcomes comments from our community. If you wish to address the board, please sign in. I want to sign in. Okay, so we can move on. Tenure appointments. Mr. Fernandez, would you like to read that first appointment, that only appointment? Oh, okay, Mrs. Gaddy, I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you. Megan Monteith, remedial reading. In accordance with the provisions of, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 735 of the laws of 1974 as amended by Chapter 736, and upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, be it hereby resolved that the Board of Trustees grant tenure status to the following employee in the area specified. Megan Monteith, remedial reading.
Is Ms. Monteith present? Okay. Can I have a motion to accept this, please?
Second by the whole board.
Second by the whole board. Any discussion? All opposed? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 7-0. I'll get it right one of these times. It has, yeah. We were at meetings earlier. I'll never get it as good as Harry had it, but. Consent agenda.
Motion carries 7-0.
You're ahead of me?
No, motion carries 7-0.
Oh, okay. I think I did, yeah. Yeah. But thank you. I'm not seeing the squid on Harry, so I think I did it right. Okay, the consent agenda. Use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be transferred to the regular agenda for consideration and a separate vote, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. I have a motion to accept the consent agenda. Mrs. Zickerby, second by Mr. Kraus. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Mrs. Zickerby again, second by Mrs. Romano. All in favor? Or any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much for coming out on such a rainy night. Get home safe.